Kampala Capital City Authority activities. We know this is a capital city and there's so much that we always question the authorities, the technical team on how things are being done and managed. And this morning, I'm delighted to have the Deputy Executive Director of KCCA, Engineer Sally David Luhimbazi. You're most welcome, Engineer, to our studios.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers.
And I know, just to remind you, our viewers, that you will have an opportunity to send in your question to my guest this morning, the Deputy ED of Kampala Capital City Authority, KCCA, via our various social media platforms, but we also have a WhatsApp number. It will be popping on your screen. Use that number to send me a WhatsApp message, and I will read it to Engineer, and he will reply to your concern, or text the same number. You can send an SMS message, and still I'll be reading out your messages. Now, Engineer, to begin with, first things first, the burning issue regarding roads in Kampala. Recently, we saw the pothole exhibition on Twitter, on various platforms. Then we saw HE come out and commit money to KCCA. We also, this morning, I've seen SFC saying that, well, they'll join into this. But I think it was yesterday or yesterday but one, I saw you in the Kosase Committee of Parliament, and you told us that 70% of the potholes in Kampala have been filled or repaired. Now, this morning as I was driving to work, I tried to see where I pass and said, well, good, I'm having Engineer this morning. Let's begin with this pothole. The roads in the city are not befitting enough for city status.
Thank you so much for that question. You know, the issue of potholes, I want to speak to the issue of what's the status of the road system. We have about 2,100 kilometers of roads in Kampala, of which about 650 are paved. However, the 650 that are paved, over about 40% of that network has outlived its useful life. It needs to be revamped. Now, what does that mean? Potholes are developing every minute. Even right now, as we sit here, a new pothole is developing because the road is worn out. So when we talk about that number of 70%, we're speaking to, initially we had a target of about 13,500 square meters of potholes to fix. But as you know, they are developing every other time. We've done 70% of that targeted area. It doesn't mean that the potholes have stopped growing in Kampala, because the roads are old, the roads are worn out. So it's an active process. And what are we doing about it? Of course, we're taking deliberate steps to ensure that we revamp the old network. We have about 250 kilometers of roads to revamp. Of those, we are fixing about 85 kilometers using resources from the African Development Bank. We've done about 65 kilometers using resources from the World Bank under KIDIP. We have a World Bank program that's coming ahead in the next 1-2 years, which is going to fix another probably around 80 to 100 kilometers. So while we're revamping the network, we don't expect to see no potholes in the city, because the roads are old. The roads need to be reconstructed or rehabilitated. They don't need to be patched. Patching is not the right solution, but we're doing patching because we don't lack resources at the moment.
Now, Engineer, you've rightly told us that these roads need total overhaul. Still, I think early this year, you came out and said we had received a loan and you're going to work on a number of roads, even they were listed. How far and what is the progress of these roads?
These contracts were signed off in November last year. And contractors allowed, after you signed the contract, about 3 months for mobilization. Some of the contractors are new. They need to fly the equipment to the country, need to recruit staff from abroad who come into the country to supervise or manage their projects.
You don't have this human resource here?
These are foreign companies. The companies that won these contracts are foreign companies. And they choose the resources they trust to do their work. Of course, they would also employ locals, but for certain tasks like driving their trucks, managing their quarries and all. So the 3 months mobilization ended around March. Now after March, they began doing what we call forward maintenance, because these roads are in bad condition anyway. They need to keep them motorable as they reconstruct them. So right now they are doing the forward maintenance as they establish on site and begin the hard work. Because when we start a project, we have to do what we call a design review. Because the assumptions that were made at the time of design may not be holding at the time of construction. Where we thought we would be able to obtain materials for construction, those locations may have been developed now. Now we have to find new locations. With the new material types, we have to adjust the pavement design, the design of the pavement structure. The traffic levels at the time of design are not the same traffic levels we have now. These roads were designed about 8 years ago. So the traffic levels have definitely increased. So we need to adjust the pavement design to address the new traffic loading. So the design review process has been ongoing for about 2 lots, that's lot 1 and lot 2. And it's about to be, of course we get comments from the bank, ourselves, and once we reach agreement, because it's, especially when there is a cost increase, decisions have to be made whether those cost increases are justified or not. So the design review process for lot 1 and lot 2 is about to be completed. For lot 3, the design review is ongoing. And it's only once it is concluded that the real construction can start.
Now, that technically explained design and all that leaves me also to another issue regarding road construction in Kampala. One, there's been an element of wastage of taxpayers' money, that sometimes you plan and bring in unnecessary things. I'll take an example. The Lord Mayor of Kampala came out and said that you've budgeted about 600 million for condoms for people that are going to be working on this road. 600 plus million for buying condoms. And he was asking, are these people coming to work on our roads? Are they coming to engage with the locals and do something else? That you've set aside 40 billion Uganda shillings for the Port Bell Luzira Road that is going to work on right of way, and said, or compensate, and he said, but he has done consultation and the people here are willing voluntarily to give way for this road to be a dual carrier. He mentioned also that the cost of constructing a road under Kampala Capital City Authority, you're one of the leaders, top leadership of the technical committee, that it's very high. Where we should maybe get 2-3 kilometers, for us we are getting 1 kilometer. Engineer, us city drillers, we find this unfriendly to us. Why would we spend more? Why would we look for useless, if I may use that, expenditures to increase the cost of constructing a road?
Of course, the issues raised by the Lord Mayor sometimes, that's why actually we've been now plunged into the political terrain. Politicization of service delivery is not good. Now, let me talk about the 600 million for so-called condoms. It's not for distribution of condoms. There is a best practice. When you build a road, you introduce a new host of people to a community. Government has a strategy for preventing or curtailing the transmission of HIV. That money is going to be used for sensitization, counseling services, and also condoms and much more, and testing, HIV testing. Because the workers are not going to be from the host community, they're going to be coming from other places. They'll definitely be interacting with the host community. And as you know, of course, relations will arise. Now, this is done not only for KCC roads, even for national roads and all major projects.
All major projects?
Yes, all major projects. You must have a program to prevent or curtail the transmission of HIV. And Uganda has done well.
That sounds strange.
Why? Why is it strange?
I mean, people are coming to this entire money, even if it's not only for purchase of condoms, fine. But why should we focus in catering for people who are going to come and work in case they engage, in case they...
you know, it's what should I call it? It is being responsible as a government and as an authority. This 600 million translates into 12 million a month. That includes offices, because you have to have an office, where a clinic where you're going to operate from, fully fitted with the testing equipment, with personnel, to make sure the new community, the new people who are coming to work in the host community do not cause rampage. Now, if that is a wastage of resources, we are trying to save lives. We're trying to reduce the mortality rate of the people, trying to educate the communities about the risks and dangers of HIV. Now, if that is bad, then what are we doing as government? Why are we there? We need to be able to protect the communities. Tell them, demonstrate to them that there are risks involved with interacting with new people. And these people are going to have resources.
Yes, they're going to be getting money.
Hey, they're going to be well paid, probably better paid. Now, this problem is not as bad in Kampala as when we go to build roads up country. Up country, really, the income disparities will be usually much higher. So there, we even spend much more money. Now, let me come to the issue of right of way. The money that is there for compensation for land is for buying land for lorry and bus depots. There are no lorry or bus depots in Kampala. When we buy the land for lorry and bus depots, then we shall develop the infrastructure around it so that lorries and buses have depots where they can operate from, where they can be maintained, serviced, and repaired. We expect along the road, where we're going to build a road, we expect the land to be voluntarily contributed by the communities for the development we are going to implement. So again, there's no wastage. Again, this is politicizing a process that is otherwise noble. Now let me come to the issue of costs. The biggest budget holder in this current budget, or even previous budgets, has been Uganda National Roads Authority. Do you know why? Because roads are expensive. Roads are not cheap. And and those are national roads. Here we're talking about urban roads. You're providing street lighting, you're providing walkways, you're providing underground, covered drains. You don't see the drains. When you go up country, you see the drains are open. Here you don't even see where the drains are. All this costs money. And on top of that, we're also going to provide roadside markets. We're going to provide, what should I call it? Apart from roadside markets, we're going to provide public toilets. All these are cost centers, unrelated to the actual road, but are important, because a road in Kampala is not like, you're not building a road, you're building an ecosystem. You're interacting with, it is a system of things. The public has to have access to public toilets, they have to walk safely on walkways, you don't have to mix the motorized traffic and the non-motorized traffic. So all these cost money. And when we talk about costs, this is a market-based outcome. We publicly advertise those roads. If the Lord Mayor had a contractor who can provide these roads cheaper, he would have advised that contractor to bid, not to come after the fact to say these roads are expensive. This way I don't agree with the politicization of service delivery. Openly advertised, the lowest responsive bidder wins. We are following the public procurement rules, which every government entity follows. What is so unique about Kampala? The same process followed by National Roads Authority, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Water, same process we followed. This bank is financing projects in over 54 African countries. It cannot be associated with the process where there is deliberate or negligent activity by public servants. So he can mislead the uninitiated. But we need to come out and also educate the public. This process is a tried and proven process where the market determines the outcome. And even if you repeat it, and by the way, come to speak about the costs, we had a budget of about 700 billion for the road works. The final awarded total contract value is about 500 billion. We saved 200 billion. No one is talking about that saving and how we can use it to better provide services in Kampala. However, they are polarizing the public that the costs are so high. The costs are driven by what you've asked the contractor to do. We can take out the street lighting. We can take out the walkways. We can take out the covered drains. He will still complain that now you're not providing services the public needs.
The roads worth befitting of a
Yes.
city. Well, I have to remind our viewers that you can talk to the Deputy Executive Director of KCCA this morning regarding issues of Kampala. We've begun with roads, and we are going to be also heading into another burning issue within Kampala. The number is on your screen. Feel free to send me a WhatsApp message or a text message on that number on your screen, and I'll be reading it out. Now, the issue of the roads been burning, you've explained to people, and they have, yes, the cost and all that. But even before we leave this road issue, one of the things, engineer, that sometimes baffles me is this continuous talk at KCCA, lack of money. You know, when we had Kampala City Council and the Act came into play, the budget of KCCA almost doubled or tripled to what Kampala City Council was using. So this talk of we don't have money, when will you have enough? And really, is it worth for us to believe we got less, we should have gotten this? Is it you, the technicals, that do not plan sufficiently? We look at an institution as KCCA that at least you would be having slightly enough to carry out some work.
I don't even know how to respond to that. The thing is, one, KC has a lot of potential to raise sufficient revenue to provide services for the city.
Oh, good.
However, these revenue opportunities are either not taken advantage of. Now, take advantage of them, you need to have laws in place or ordinances to make sure you can collect. Now, like outdoor advertising, all those billboards you see out there, whereas they're paying to the companies that own those billboards, KC does not get a single penny out of it. All those signages you see, advertising shops and whatever, in Nairobi they pay. For every, even a mobile advert on a vehicle pays something to the city. In Uganda here, in Kampala here, you pay nothing. Why? Because no ordinances has been passed. Now, who is responsible for passing or putting out these ordinances? The political wing working with the technical wing. However, the political wing has the final say. For the last 2 years, not a single ordinance has been passed. Not a single ordinance. What does that speak to? Of course, the politicians are not being held to account. Whereas they'll come out and say, oh, the cost of roads are so high. But what are they doing about raising revenue for the city? For the last 2 financial years, the council budget for having council sittings has been spent. No single outcome that can help the city has been put on the table.
For the last 2 years?
For the last 2 years.
Money for running the council?
Money, I mean, tools for helping the city run better. None has been put on, none has been passed. No ordinance, no policy. The last time, of course, there was that state of the city address where a multitude of problems were displayed to the public. None of them has ever been on the council agenda to be discussed and come up with solutions. You know, that's where it hurts. Are we working for the city or we are not? Basically, we are hemorrhaging the country, either deliberately or negligently.
Now, let me switch to another burning issue, which is garbage in the city. Engineer, when you move around Kampala, you find that it's not as clean as befitting of a city status, as a capital city. Garbage still remains a challenge. There was a time when there were deposit centers that now cases attended, contracted people to do this. When you go down to the business community, they will tell you, we don't know how many kind of taxes we have to pay. When you go to people's homes, some are stuck with garbage because these contractors are aiming at recouping what they're investing. We talk about temporary stagnation, we talk about people releasing garbage in water channels and all this, but it's something so expensive that they feel KCCA should do better.
Again, this again speaks to resources, resources, or the lack of resources, or the failure to generate resources that can help us run the city better. We generate about 2,500 tons of garbage. We are only able to collect about half of that because we don't have sufficient trucks, to collect this garbage. Even where we've concessioned out the garbage collection, the concessionaires, of course, as you said, they must have a cost recovery mechanism. They cannot invest more than they recover. So the communities that cannot pay, they will not collect from them. And of course now they will dispose of the garbage badly. They will dispose it off in either wetlands or into our drainage channels, which is a further cost because when it rains, the flooding comes. When the flooding comes, it destroys property and assets of the people. So again, you know, it is there is tension between raising resources and providing services. If you don't raise enough resources as a city, which we are quite capable of if we worked deliberately, we cannot be able to provide the service like garbage collection that the city needs. So the solution is within our hands, but the politicization of what we should do has become a challenge. And actually, yesterday I was in Kosasa. I said, you know what, these tools for revenue collection, maybe some people are in political captivity. Let's have national laws that allow cities to become viable. Like now we have the Markets Act. It's going to cure the problems in the markets. Let's have an outdoor advertising act to protect cities from the challenges Kampala is facing. If the political wing does not put its act together, should the city suffer? No. Let's have national laws that cure all that, because even all the emerging cities can benefit from those laws.
Because you believe the political wing could be in captivity, that if they said, for example, passed an ordinance on collection of revenue from outdoor moving vehicles, and it goes back that the political wing did this,
it will appear as though they're working with government,
they're working with
in cahoots with government, which puts them in a difficult dilemma. Now, however, the dwellers in the city are suffering from either divide. All of them are paying. Let's save them from that problem. Have national laws that enable the city to work, raise the revenue it needs, and we have a functioning city.
Well, messages are coming in. I want us to remove a few things, then we get to hear from our viewers. Please keep the messages coming on the number on your screen. Send your message to my guest and I'll be reading it out. You can either send a WhatsApp message or a text message to the Deputy ED of KCCA, Engineer David Sali Luyimbazi, with whom I am looking at update on activities of KCCA. Now, enforcement. Engineer, I was at a press conference, remember very well, where you told us that these issues of KCCA enforcement, manhandling, allegations of stealing property of people, extortion and all that, that you had found a solution. How they were going to have body cameras. You gave us a time frame when these body cameras are going to be in circulation. You told us, and we jotted and informed the public that the system is up. You've even done some testing of the equipment. Everything is okay. Months down the road, I've not seen a single enforcement officer. However, we continue to register harsh treatment, extortion from the various officers in the enforcement.
there comes a time when you have to admit where you have failed. The operationalization of the body-worn camera system, whereas the intentions were good, has not worked out as well as we thought. The operationalization of the system has met some challenges from user acceptance, user resistance to people resisting change, adopting to the new system. I like to admit I would not defend everything. Whereas the intentions were good, because the intention was to save the public so from being harassed or even us being wrongly accused of actions maybe we have not undertaken. And also to protect the public from extortive activities by maybe people who are not our staff. Whereas the intention was good, the operational part has not been as efficient as we thought. But we purchased the equipment we have. It is the putting it in action that has been a problem.
How does that become a problem?
You know, we work with people. Not everyone is as dedicated to a task as you would want. And hiring and firing a public servant is not as easy as one would think. You give somebody a task because as management we purchased the equipment, handed it over and expected.
There was that, the launching, very exciting.
But the operationalization of it has not gone on as well as we thought it would. But eventually we shall get them operating.
Then a quick one before I go to the messages from our viewers. Another area where you were very committed, assured us, still I was there, is the border menace in Kampala.
Yes.
You set a time deadline when you'll have gazetted stages. You set a time deadline when most of these things are going to be in place. Time is passing. Nothing is happening. At one time there was, you gave division areas for them to pay, then acquire some document, some invested money. We may cease to take you serious, engineer.
Yeah, of course, as I said, these processes are bigger than an individual, bigger than an organization, because they affect people's lives. We've made progress, although the progress has been quiet this time. Regarding the final acts we're doing, we have 445 stages that are going to be gazetted in the city. 100 of them have been gazetted as we speak. Why? Because those ones are on public land. The 345 are on private land. We have to engage the owners of those of that land to accept their land to be used as a stage. As you know, that is a process. I cannot control the time frame within which somebody can accept. The ones in Central Division, the Central Division leaders have been able to convince the owners of land, private land in the Central Division to accept. But in Makinde, Kawempe, Lubaga and Nakawa, the process has been slow. Why? Because we're using leaders who are not paid, facilitated to do the work they're doing. So that has slowed down the process. Whereas we'd have desired to have it done quickly, it is not going on as quickly as we want. Now, the other final act we're doing is registering riders on each stage. We've developed an app in the city, an app for this registration process. We're going to first register the leaders, the apex leaders, then register the chairpersons of each stage. Then they're going to have an online app so that each chairperson can register the riders on his stage. That will simplify the process. Now, we're expecting to begin the sensitization for how to utilize this app in the coming 2 weeks, in the next 2 weeks. And we hope that in about 2 months, we should have finalized the registration process.
Well, allow me now go to the messages. Thank you so much for the messages, both on WhatsApp and text message. Engineer, I think you have to jot them so that I give you ample time to reply to them, because there are quite so many.
And pointed, eh?
I hope time helps us. We have to be very brief answering them. Good morning, UBC. I'm Aziz from Rubowa. Me, I appreciate the activities of cases, especially road construction, but my concern is about the border stages everywhere. We can't find where to park our cars because streets are full of border borders. Did you lose it on border? So then he puts so many question marks. Then again, your enforcement goons act like tourists while handling these poor people who come to Kampala to get what to feed their families. What hurts is that they do it selectively. If you can, please check the team that works at Usafi Park. Then also, we have thanks for this morning update on the city. What port does engineer know that these potholes cause death? Okay, please let's not abbreviate or write something the word as it is. These abbreviations kind of cause death to Ugandans. I saw last week a vehicle knocked a pedestrian as he tried to dodge a pothole. Please illustrate more and explain more on this fact. Paddy from Mukono, traffic jam in town, among other issues. Thank you, Paddy. Then you have, can engineer Ruimbazi tell the road users of Mpere Rechitezi the plan for that road and who is responsible to repair it? Since KCCA, the main user of dumping Kasasiro, the current state of the road is too bad and no funds. Robert Keno. Thank you, Robert. Good morning. Why budget for condoms for goodness sake? Stephen from Arua. Well, Stephen, Deputy ED, the technical wing is not guiding the political wing adequately. Those laws, ordinances, and policies are drafted by the technical, but with full understanding of political wing. I think you are moving in parallel directions. Style up. That is Bill. And good morning. This is David. The only problem you do have in your operation is you hold corporate people, hustles, they don't care about human rights. Well,
come again?
This is another confusing one, but I think let's just go away from it. This one goes to engineer. There is no way you engage yourself in government facilitating programs like condoms, meaning you people sit and budget outside what you're supposed to do. Condoms are distributed freely around the country. Can't you use those on ground? For now, let me also go to a few messages here away from WhatsApp. They are quite a number. Good morning. Hello, good morning, Uganda. This is Rukundo. Why is there no change with the border guys that we've handled before? Then KCCA technical time is a joke. I think he meant technical team is a joke. I even wonder whether Kampala deserves to be called a city. KCCA died with the departure of Jennifer Musisi Amuyokana. For now, let me please hold your messages coming in. I want engineer to respond to these, and we see, if possible, we can get back to some.
Thank you so much, viewers, for these questions. Of course, the issue of Mr. Z's borders being stages being everywhere is the reason we are trying to streamline border operations in the city. As I mentioned earlier, this issue is much bigger than the institution. It's a national issue. And we shall be consulting when we begin the enforcement. As I said, we shall only have 445 stages in the city.
445 in the city?
Yes, in the city.
Each accommodating about how many people?
We're looking at about 20 to 25.
The rest going where?
20 to 25. So 20 to 25 riders. That is the start, okay? We shall test it and see whether that is adequate to the demand or not.
You mean in all the 5 divisions or only in Kampala?
All the 5 divisions, because we are taking border stages away from junctions, away from in front of business premises, in front of hospitals, in front of banks, you know, in front of schools. We are near taxi parks. We are making sure they're in gazetted areas where they can be planned for properly, and they are off the road. They must be in the road reserve. So that process eliminated so many stages in the city. And of course, the way the city looks now is not something that gives anyone any pride. to even claim. I like the issue that when somebody said the technical name is a joke. We appear as though we are a joke actually, if the city continues to operating the way it is. But again, we need a lot of consultation because many people are employed in the border business. Striking a stroke like this and taking them out of work is something we need to do with deliberate concern to their welfare after that fact. Again, we shall need political guidance on how we proceed. But in terms of direction, we have a clear direction where we're going. When we talk about the enforcement, our enforcement team acting as goons, terrorizing the public, that's the reason we wanted to introduce body-worn cameras, which is something, as I explained earlier, has made some resistance, but it shall be realized at the end of the day. We didn't buy that equipment to lay idle in our offices. It has to be put to use. Does the engineer know about the impact of potholes? I do know the impact of potholes. And I think I know better than many. With the continued existence of potholes in the city, we're exporting jobs to other countries. The spare parts people have to be buying to replace in their cars is an unseen cost. People are spending a lot of money having to go to garages to repair their cars more frequently than they need to. Apart from the danger of accidents, there's that cost, hidden cost, which no one sees but I know happens. Vehicle operating costs have increased substantially due to the poor state of our roads. And as I said earlier, our strategy is to rehabilitate or overhaul these roads to make sure the public stops suffering. What is the plan for Mpere Rekitezi? Mpere Rekitezi is going to be rehabilitated. We have resources from the African Development Bank, which we're going to use to reconstruct that road. We expect works to start there no more than 1 year from now. In the meantime, we're going to continue maintaining it. Now, why budget for condoms? Now, as I mentioned earlier, politicization of service delivery is dangerous. The use of the word condoms is intended to trivialize what the actual intention is. The actual intention is to curb the spread of HIV. We're introducing new people to a host community. And this budget of about 12 million shillings a month includes testing, counseling services, having a permanent clinic on the road project to ensure that we protect and sensitize people so that they know that there are real dangers of HIV spreading. Uganda has done well because of such deliberate strategies embedded in the vectors that can cause a rapid spread of HIV. You bring people who are going to be working, coming from different areas. Definitely will be interaction. As government, as a responsible authority, we have to have deliberate strategies to contribute to averting the spread of HIV. The issue of the technical wing not guiding the political wing adequately, I don't think this is true. I think, as I mentioned earlier, politics coming into service delivery is a dangerous thing, and we need to come up with real solutions that can also help the political wing get out of political captivity they're in, that sometimes prevents them from doing the work they're supposed to do. I won't speak about the issue of condom distribution again, which was raised again by another person who submitted to you some text message. Then, of course, the technical wing being a joke, I don't want to say that we're a joke. We are facing, I don't want to call them insurmountable challenges, but challenges that require us being sensitive and humane. It's like when you see our enforcement people acting inhumanely. That's not something we subscribe to. When you see border borders all over Kampala, we don't also subscribe to it, but our act of evicting them needs to be done in a humane way, a way that also gives them an option. If we're taking you out of the border business, have we created an opportunity for maybe to skill you to go and do something else? Maybe you become a carpenter, maybe you become a tile fixer, something like that. Those are things that government has to do.
Okay. Well, engineer, messages are so many, both on WhatsApp and of course the text. But we'll have engineer for another day. That I can say. Let me just have your parting shot.
What I'd like to say is that the citizens of Kampala should know that the KCC is working fervently to solve the many biting challenges we face. The issue of poor roads, we are alive to it and working very hard to ensure that we address the issue of poor roads. We're trying to mobilize financing to ensure that we fix the roads. The issue of course, flooding is an issue that we are alive to. We're trying to work ways of making sure that we be able to line all the drains so that our drainage system is efficient in discharging water to areas where water is supposed to reside. We have issues of the dark city. We have the issue of garbage being an issue where the city is not green, the city is dirty. Again, we're working hard. We are alive to the challenges Kampala faces, and we're not just sitting in our offices and resting on our laurels doing nothing. We're constantly engaging government, constantly engaging development partners to ensure that our actions speak to the problems afflicting the people of Kampala. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer David Sally Luyimbazi, for your time.
Thank you,
and
sir.
we hope for more interactions like this so that people know what exactly is happening. Thank you, our viewers. There are so many messages, but that is what we could handle. Thank you, and keep them coming. We shall find a way of at least maybe forwarding them to the authorities that be engineer here. Ruben is ready to take you through sports. See you in the next Good Morning.